Welcome to Michigan, YouTube. Nice, beautiful 120-degree day with 100% humidity. It's awesome out here, but the fat man's here to shoot some video for you. Talk about devotion. Alright, we got a 43 Isvostchik X-Sniper. Down below it is an M44 with a laminated stock. Below that is a, there's a 45. Excuse me. The SKS is a 55 or 56 Russian. Alright, a brief history on them. This I've done nothing with since the day that I got it except for shoot it. The most accurate rifle I've ever shot, surprisingly enough. Even without a scope. I mean, 100-yard groups with my eyeballs, half-inch, good enough for me. The next one is an M44 that I picked up at the pawn shop that I redid. The stock originally was with diaper shit brown like the one up above it. Hated the look, so I refinished it. The refinishing process was basically sand it down so there was no stain or shellac or anything left, and followed some videos on let's see, AK-47 refinishing. Something along the lines of RIT clothing dye and whatnot. I'll get onto that in just a second. Now I also used the same exact stain when I redid the SKS, but this one has black spots in it, the smudges and the looks and everything. That I left them like that on purpose. I didn't want the smooth, flat, you know, continuous colored wood. I wanted what I have seen on all the other Russians, and they all have this, the black splotches. I wanted that. So I sanded it down, leaving some of those dark spots in there. Well, there wasn't quite enough of those dark spots, so I created some myself with a propane torch. This here is actually a shot with a propane torch. Just take the torch, just whoosh, for just a second. Just put the flame on it so it just kisses it. That's it. One there, and then I added another one in here too, just to get the effect I was going for, or to get the look I was going for. Okay, now everybody's asking how I got the red look on this rifle, because when I go to redo them, they're poop brown. Okay, I understand that. I'm going to show you how I did it. Alright, the shit that I used. Let's start out first. Minwax gun stock, number 231. I'll put links for all this shit in the videos. This is a concoction of semi-gloss Minwax, semi-gloss Minwax polyurethane, of course, and acetone. The red color comes from Scarlet Red RIT clothing dye. I'm sure a lot of people know. I've heard of that already. The stuff I used was the liquid, because I couldn't find any in the powder. I'll put a link up of what I used. Ah, yes, it'll still get you high after all these months. Blood red. Now, basically, you mix it up until you get a nice, thick, goopy consistency. You know, I'm sure you can hear that. That's the idea. But you thin it down with acetone. Just keep thinning it until it becomes thin. You know, and it's, you want it basically, think of hot maple syrup. It doesn't have to be real thick, because the thicker it is, the longer it takes to dry and all that. So, makes it relatively thin. And then just slather it all over the thing. And the finish isn't too bad. When it first comes out, it'll look pretty gross. You'll think you just ruined it, but you didn't. It just looks bad. So you apply the stain. It's going to be all red and gross looking. Sand it all back off, 90% of it. I just used 4/0 steel wool to sand it back off. Take it back down so you get your red color, but you still have your brown color. If it's too red and too pink, strip it back down and restain it. You just don't want your stain too dark. If you start out with a really dark color like this and then try to put the red over the top of it, it won't turn out. So you want it half wood, half dark spot. Think of pretty much like the color of plywood. You know, I mean, it isn't stripped down so it's nice, bright, birchy looking wood anymore. Sorry, I don't have better technical terms for it, but but leave the splotches is the main thing. Leave all these dark spots, and then when you reapply your stains, reapply your color, you'll get that red look to it. And don't worry, when you first get done with it, it'll be pink. It'll look like Kool-Aid, and you'll think you screwed it up, but just let it sit. As it sits for about 3 or 4 or 5 hours, it'll start to darken up. After you get about, I don't know, 10 hours into it, or after it's dried for about 10 hours, it's set to really dark color. Let it sit. Once it's completely dry, 4-aught steel wool it again to make sure it's clean. And then I made the mistake of using this swill. Clear enamel. Don't ask me why. I think it's because I was drinking. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, or wasn't thinking. I sprayed that shit on there. Man, it's nice and shiny. It looks awesome. But the finish is so incredibly soft. I mean, today on this 120 something degree day, now we're up to 130, but it's in the sun though. So it's only about 118, 120 in the shade. But on a hot day like today, you can take your fingernails and stick it right in that clear. So that was a mistake. So I sanded all that shit back off as much as I could. I still have a couple little run spots that I can't remove. I'm not going to point them out because I don't need to. I know where they're at and they irritate me. But if you here, let me rephrase this. My recommendation would be, after you get done staining it and getting your color that you want from the Kool-Aid, or the the clothing dye, 4-aught wool it all the way back down again. After it's completely dry, tongue oil it. Tongue oil turns out so much nicer. This here started out with this clear, crystal clear enamel stuff. I showed that in one of the other videos that when I first redid this, and it lasted about a week. It was so scratched up and looked like hell. It sucked. So I stripped it all back off, and this here is all pure tongue oil, just from the Birchwood Casey kit, the cheap stuff. So, but all right, that's probably enough of my rambling. Right? Nobody watches this shit anyway. But so anyway, people have been asking me how I did it. Well, I told you pretty much how I did it. If you want a step by step, there's a guy on there, NZ as in National Zippers 85, and he does a really good in-depth step by step on how to do convert his wasser stock into a Red Russian. Basically, I did the same idea as what he did. I wish I could say I had an original thought, but unfortunately I didn't. But he went with a lot more red than I did, so I went with gunstock brown and left the brown color in it a little bit more. So, but other than that, they're about the same idea. So he did a good step by step. So there's no sense of me doing a tutorial on it. I was just trying to answer some questions I've been asked. I mean, I don't get a whole lot of questions as far as in the question section or the comment section. I get a buttload of PMs, and I usually watch YouTube through my PlayStation, so I can't answer any of those. So I have to go onto my computer and do it, and I never get on it, so I never get a chance to answer questions. So, but I do when I can. So, well, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything, send me a message. I'll get to it as quick as I can, and I'll reply. Well, whatever. But I'm going to try to get some more shooting videos in here pretty quick. So the weather's finally starting to, get nice and cool out, because those horrible ass 80-degree days have just been way too cold. So so anyway, hope you enjoyed. Let's see, how do I finish this? Oh yeah, kiss my ass.